Hi everybody, this is Crypto Rich, working with you to get rich with crypto, filling our pockets with crypto profits. I'm delighted to have with me a very, very special guest. In fact, I've been waiting over a year, almost a year, to have this person and this project, right? And it is Electroneum related, so please hold on for that. I'm going to show you, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen, right? Because I want you to look at this girl. What a gorgeous, gorgeous picture. What a gorgeous, gorgeous little child. I'm going to start by asking you to donate to the Wonder Foundation. They do incredible work with women and children all over the world, the UK and Africa and other parts of the world, as I'm going to find out, right? And you can donate with fiat, but you can also donate with Electroneum. Yay! And I have the link to Electroneum's address in the description below, so please send them some Electroneum for the work they do. We're going to be finding out what is the work that they do and how did they get involved with Electroneum. This is one of the NGOs that Electroneum is supporting out of its commitment to get Electroneum everywhere and also to make a difference where it can to impoverished and deprived communities. Now, before I introduce her, please subscribe, comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, you may need to subscribe again and again and again because I am losing subscribers. I'm also being shadow banned on YouTube, so my videos aren't getting posted. You know, they're getting low ranked. And you should really be watching me on BitTube, because I post my videos on BitTube first. You can earn cryptocurrencies if you register with BitTube and just for watching videos. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching it a few days late because I post first on BitTube.
Bitcoin, the best money we've ever had. With a different kind of money comes a different kind of card. A metal card, powered by crypto. Every time you spend, you get 3% back instantly. Want more? We've got that too. Don't like fees? Neither do we. How about these perks? The future is here. Reserve yours now.
Hey, good morning, Olivia. Thank you so much for finally making it.
Thank you for having me. It's amazing how the world has changed in the last.
That's right. The last time we spoke, I think it was August. I think it was August or July.
It was some time ago, and the world was a very different place.
The world was a very different place, right? I was traveling from one part of the country to the other and talking to you on train platforms and stuff and saying, come on, come on. You said, we're going to redesign our website. And you have redesigned your website. It looks fabulous. We'll have a look at it in a moment, right? But you just want to start by saying a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Olivia. I'm the Director of Policy at Wonder Foundation. I'm one of the group of, we were young then when we set up Wonder. And so Wonder was registered as a charity nearly 8 years ago now. So yeah, it's been a real adventure and kind of born out of youthful idealism and the desire to make the world a better place.
All right, okay. So Wonder Foundation. So who set it up and why, and what's the thinking behind it?
Yeah, so we were a group of young people based in London, but a very London story.
Sorry, let me stop you, Olivia. Let me stop you, right? Yeah. Young people or young women?
Women.
Okay, and I asked that, not that I mind, right? But because it is a charity that's geared towards the needs of women.
Yeah.
So you're a group of young women? We
were a group of young women based in London, coming from all over the world because that's what happens when you're in London.
That's right.
And you know, with lots of different stories, all of us were very kind of active volunteers. We'd been volunteering at university, and sort of as we started our professional lives, some of us had kind of gone into the charity sector, and others hadn't. But we really saw that there was this need to raise awareness of really excellent locally led, woman-led projects that were really understanding local needs because they were part of that local community. But because when anyone's busy and doing something really well, whether that's in this country or in, you know, Kenya, you're so busy doing the work that you're not involved in the conversations about it, and you don't have the time to promote your work necessarily because there's always more people who need the work that you're doing. If you're doing it well, there are always more people wanting to access what you're offering. So we wanted to kind of help organizations like that, women-led, locally rooted organizations that were having a transformative impact in the communities, predominantly women and girls that they were helping. But obviously once you start helping women and girls, you're helping families. So yeah.
Okay, and can I ask why the focus on women and girls?
I think it was very natural for us. You know, we arguably still are young women.
You're certainly women.
Still women. And I think, you know, when you see the disparity, the opportunities that we had that other people didn't have, and I think there's that natural connection as well. I mean, we've got nothing against helping men and boys, but I think you work with the skills and the abilities and the capacities that you have, and that was our skill and capacity.
Yeah, and I would say that by helping women, you are actually helping boys as well, because women tend to be the carers, the mothers, the ones that hold the house together. And I just want to mention that I used to work as a social worker. You know this because we've mentioned that I used to work as a social worker and would in the part of London where your office is based, in Lambeth, and would often cycle past the office and knew nothing about it, right? So, but I thought I'd drop that in, right? And I do want to let people know that we are going to be talking about your relationship with Electroneum, right? But before we get onto that, let's have a look at the Wonder Foundation, and you can talk me through the kind of work that you do. So it says here, the coronavirus emergency appeal. We must talk about that because you're doing this emergency appeal for coronavirus. So you're dedicated to empowering women and girls through quality education and access to good work.
Yes.
So what does that look like on the field in the UK and elsewhere?
So in the UK, a lot of our focus with young people is on building soft skills. So in this country, we know that, you know, young people outside of Corona times should have access to education. They should have access to a quality education. It should be provided by the government. But we know that people, particularly from disadvantaged backgrounds, from certain minority backgrounds, are not making that transition from education into good work, and they're not necessarily thriving in education either. And we know that women and girls, they do well in school, but as it goes into their careers later on, it's not just a question of the fact that, you know, they're having babies. They're disadvantaged in other ways in how they progress in their career and the pay that they receive. I think a crucial issue to that is young women's confidence. We know this typical story, you know, that a man will apply for a job if he kind of feels he can do half of the skills that job is looking for, but women don't think they can apply for that job unless they can do all the things that are on that role description. Right. And there are many things like this that mean that kind of girls are counting themselves, young women are counting themselves out of opportunities before they've even started. And they're not recognizing the work that they do and the skills that they're learning. So when we're working with young volunteers, for example, if you ask a young woman about her volunteering experience, for example, at Bay Tree Centre, which you know from Brixton, and where I actually started my career, and you know, what if I was thinking about when I was volunteering there, what would I have thought I was learning about? And I would have said, you know, oh, I was learning about, you know, certain communities that I didn't have exposure to before. Right. I was learning about how to teach IT to children who didn't have access to IT. I wouldn't have thought that actually I was gaining communication skills, leadership skills, planning skills, all of those kind of things that you naturally gain, and these soft skills. So in our work in the UK, we're trying a lot, and in Europe, we're trying a lot to help young women, particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds, to recognize the skills that they're learning and to understand how to take those into employment so that they don't limit themselves.
Okay, so excuse me, a couple of questions about those, right?
Yeah.
So what's the age group, and what do you do after school workshops and evening classes?
Yeah, so I mean, typically the age group that we're working with are kind of 18 to 25. And it's not necessarily classes. We do workshops, we give them exposure to different ideas. We might do a workshop on project management, but we'd also engage them in volunteering and things, but really with a focus on helping them to reflect and to be mentored on what they're learning, and to think, how can I take what I'm learning, these skills, into my professional life, into raising my confidence and these kind of things, but also how I can be a better citizen, an active citizen, to be able to express my voice, to share with the people who are in positions of power, whoever those people might be. It might be your parents, it might be your teachers, it might be your boss, or it might be your MP, to know how to to be recognized for what you know, and to advocate on your own behalf and on behalf of the people around you.
Okay.
We know that there's a big democratic deficit in this country, for example. And I think that's a fundamental part of engaging young people as citizens. And when we don't engage as citizens, it's actually really hard for us to progress in our professional life, because recognition crosses from both spheres. So that's what we're kind of doing
That's
here.
what you're doing in the UK. And in which other countries do you operate, and what do you do in those other countries?
Yeah, so we work a lot in other countries with technical vocational education and training, because it's actually a really good investment for young people. And of course, our focus is on young women. I think sometimes people think that, there are loads of young people in Africa who have no education at all, and that's why they don't have jobs. And of course, that is the case for many people, and particularly for girls who are out of education because of family decisions about preference for boys and other things. But actually, there are lots and lots of young people in Africa and in the other countries we work in, Central America, in the Philippines, who have university degrees. Their families have spent money that they've scrimped and saved to send their children to university. And a lot of those economies simply do not have enough graduate jobs. So you've spent 3-4 years studying at university, and at the end of it, you're getting the same job that you would have done had you never been to university. And potentially, if you'd done very little high school, well, investing in technical vocational education, which is the partners that we typically work with in those countries, outside of a major economic crisis, is actually a real win, because you are giving a young person the soft and the hard skills that employers are actively looking for in order to develop their businesses. So in Kenya, for example, we've been working with hospitality training. Hospitality was, until 3 months ago, Kenya's biggest earner. It was their biggest industry. If you can be well trained for that industry, so not just to have a skill to do a task, but to have a skill and the personal qualities in order to be desirable to an employer.
Right.
That you're honest, you're hardworking, you're able to ask questions, you have the ability to learn new skills. You become a very desirable employer and the kind of person you want to bet on, so you can grow your business. So to give a girl with, some of the girls in our project there on the coast have very, very few opportunities. They are in real need. For them to go into that project and to come out at the other end as a very employable person with transferable skills is truly transformative. And another good example is the example of Congo. The nursing school ISI that we're working with in Kinshasa is recognized by the Congolese, the DRC government, as being the best nursing school in Congo. Congo has an enormous population. No one really knows how many people there are, because the last census was in 1984.
Wow. Now, hold on, Olivia. There's a small Congo and the big Congo.
There's a small Congo and the big Congo. So we're talking about the big Congo.
Okay, that has a large population. I didn't know that. Formerly Zaire.
Formerly Zaire, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's the little Congo is just across the river.
Yep.
Which is Congo Brazzaville, and we're talking about Congo Kinshasa, DRC. The capital is Kinshasa, and it's enormous. It stretches out to Uganda and Rwanda.
It's a massive country. I'd love to go, by the way. But moving on.
Yeah. This is the kind of trivia I love. To imagine a country. We know at the moment how valuable nurses are. We know in general in our lives, all of us probably have an encounter with a nurse once a year for something. My mum had an accident a couple of years ago, and it was the nurses who really made the difference to her quality of life in hospital. To imagine a place where really there are very, very few qualified nurses. Hygiene training only became a mandatory part of nurse training a decade ago. And actually that was through the leadership of ISI, of the school we're working with. So investing in nurses is crucial to the well-being of this population.
So what is it Wonder Foundation does? Do you invest in the school or?
Yeah.
train nurses once they've qualified, or you give them grants?
That's a great question. It's a great question. So there are two things that we are doing basically with all of our projects. We're in constant dialogue with them to try and understand their needs and to work out how we as a small charity can best help them. And one is definitely financially. We're always looking for grants, for donations to make that work possible. So it could be for scholarships, or it could be for other needs. We've been supporting a number of scholarships in Congo because the students there are, it's one of the poorest countries in the world, if arguably sometimes the poorest. Those students, their ability to pay for their fees is very limited. It's a win-win project because you're investing in the country by training nurses, but you are also transforming the lives of those women and girls who will be nurses because they have a guaranteed good income after that. The nurses are well trained and they're very much in demand in the country. But the life expectancy there is in the 40s, so the likelihood that a 20-year-old girl is already an orphan or loses a parent during the course of her studies is quite high. And then you have a lot of demands on that girl. Like, is she going to stop her studies and earn money to support the family, or does the family simply not have the money to continue to invest in her? So really, the scholarships that we're giving those girls are crucial. But also, there are always other needs. They want long-term to build a midwifery school, for example, which would be amazing. There isn't at the moment a high-level midwifery school in the country. And the other aspect of what we're doing there, what they are doing, is they're delivering a master's program, and that's the only one training nurses and midwives in the country. And it can seem, sometimes you think, oh, why am I paying for a master's degree for someone? It seems like a luxury. But actually, when you consider that in order to train nurses, you need people who are qualified to train them. In order to lead and supervise clinics in hospitals, you need people who have the ability to do that work. It's not good enough just to have trained people if you also don't have leadership and the ability to train more people without continued reliance on external support. And that's true sustainability. And that's, I think, really exciting.
Yes, absolutely. You need the leaders to cause others, right? Now, part of it, and we are going to talk about the impact of coronavirus, but I just wanted to touch upon this emergency appeal. Your donation will help Moncoli Hospital prevent the spread of coronavirus in DRC and save the lives of the most vulnerable.
Yes.
Okay, so talk to me about this emergency appeal.
Yeah, so Moncoli Hospital is the hospital to which ISI, the nursing school, is attached. And a lot of the staff who are training nurses in ISI are also working in Moncoli. So one of the leadership team is also the head of hygiene at Moncoli Hospital. Congo just simply doesn't, it's a very poor place, and they have had multiple epidemics and pandemics. They've had Ebola, repeated Ebola and things like that. But a lot of that has been in the east of the country and has really relied on foreign support. Obviously, to address this, there's been corona in Kinshasa for weeks. In order to prevent the spread and to make sure that people have good care, there needs to be good hygiene systems and PPE in the hospital, because there are so few staff. All staff are valuable and all staff need to be protected, but there are so few qualified staff that they really need to be protected, and there is so little access to healthcare that really it's essential that this is offered to people who have corona.
Okay. Now, there are other countries that you work in.
Yes.
There are other countries that you could have supported.
Yeah.
Why this?
That's a good question. We are actually supporting other countries, but this was where the need was most pressing. This is a health project, and it's very natural. It's a health project in one of the world's poorest countries. They have less capacity than, say, Nigeria or Kenya to address this.
I got it. Okay.
We are broadening.
One second, Olivia. I just want to, so you've got a goal of 30,000. Time of recording, you raised 7,780, and people can donate. You can donate Electroneum. You can also donate fiat currencies? How would people donate? Is it by PayPal or?
Yeah, so you can donate through the website if you're giving normal money, through PayPal. But of course, also we would love for people to donate in alternative currencies, and particularly Electroneum, because I mean, and that money is making a real difference, difference to us. And we've already sent the first tranche of money to Congo, because obviously this is a real and very pressing need.
Sure, and people can donate from all over the world, right? It doesn't just have to be the UK.
Yes, anywhere you are.
Anywhere you are, right? And £50 could buy 5 thermometers.
Uh-huh.
Wow. And £890 could buy one much-needed ventilator. £200 could buy PPE for 15 nurses. So if you're watching this, please donate. Send them some Electroneum. I've got the Electroneum address in the description below, and you can also donate by useless fiat if you want to hold on to your Electroneum. Although fiat isn't useless, because they'll make good use of it in Zaire, sorry, in the DRC. Oh my God, I'm dating myself. Going back to the Rumble in the Jungle, Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. I remember watching that with my father. That fight in Kinshasa. Okay, anything else you want to say about the work in DRC?
Well, no, I mean, I could talk about it forever, because I love that work. Yep. No, I mean, what I was just about to say was that we are extending our appeal to our other projects. So, like I say, we're always in constant dialogue with the partners to understand their needs. And at the beginning of all of this, when we could see that there were going to be shutdowns, we were in touch with the partners and helping them to think through all of the things, that would help them to be better prepared for whatever was happening. And so we've been working with them to understand their current financial needs and the current financial needs of their students as well. We've been immensely grateful, because Electroneum has made a donation of ETN to us to help with our work in Nigeria. And there they've been training young people for the food and hospitality industry, which has obviously been greatly affected. I'm amazed. I'm always so impressed by how resilient the students are. And the teachers have been in touch with them as much as possible to continue the mentoring that they're giving them, but also just to help them as much as possible to continue their studies. A big barrier, and one of the things that the donation will go on, is helping them to have internet access, because we take it for granted that we can be having this chat on Zoom, but for them, access to the internet is very limited, and some of them have the technology, but some of them don't. And how long is a piece of string? Like, unless we invest in this, we don't know when they're going to be able to resume their studies.
And this has become more useful because of the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown all over the world and stuff, right? How has that affected the functioning of the charity?
Well, I mean, as I say, at the moment, we're really trying to help our partners to make the change, to adapt to the current situation, but then also to think about, for the long term, what this means, because it's affecting the industries that they're training young women to enter. So maybe a business as usual approach is not going to work anymore. Maybe they need to offer different qualifications or adapt the content of what they're offering, so that yes, you'll end up with that qualification, but you also have the ability to run a business in different ways. I mean, there's always a lot of talk about micro entrepreneurship, and it can be great in some ways, but it's also the kind of thing that in this environment, it's very, to slightly increase someone's income is great, but the moment that there's a need in the family, that slight increase just gets taken away. So how do you really build long-term capacity and resilience, and the ability of young women to think their way out of a crisis, to be very resourceful, to know where to ask for help? That's what we want to work with our partners, to make sure that they're not just creating people who leave with a qualification, people who are able to adapt to whatever challenging circumstances they might face. And I mean, very, much at the moment, the reality is a lot of those students are struggling to feed themselves. They've been caught in lockdowns and curfews. So then they've not been able to go back to their family. Many of the girls they've kind of gone to stay with each other because they can't afford to pay their rent anymore.
Mm.
So they're living in even more cramped accommodation. They don't have money for fuel for cooking. They're really struggling with affording food. So just to send them these emergency things so that they can meet their immediate needs, as well as, you know, invest in their learning in this period, and their learning hopefully when things go back to normal, is crucial, because otherwise you have the potential to, you know, there's a lot of potential wastage of young life, and young opportunity.
Okay, all right. Now you mentioned Electroneum gave you a donation for your work in Nigeria. I
Yeah.
want to talk about Electroneum in a moment. First, I want to remind people there's a donation address in the description below, or you can go straight to the website. Hopefully by the time this video is out, you'll have the QR code and the address on the website to make it easier for people to donate Electroneum. And I've suggested Bitcoin address and ETH address as well, right? So people can send those. So let's talk about Electroneum.
Mm-hmm.
Protect your privacy and your freedom. Use a VPN. Discount code for NordVPN in the description below with a 30-day money-back guarantee.